Nigeria's inflation rate, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, rose in the month of December to an 11-month high. We had seen it grow 11 consecutive months to 28.92% from 28.2%. And interestingly, this has gone on for 11 consecutive months, like I stated earlier. And joining me now to break down this number and give credence to these figures is a financial analyst, Muktar Mohammed. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
And starting off, like I stated in my introduction, this is a 24-year high figure that we are seeing, and this has happened for consecutively for the past 11 months, hitting 28.9% in the month of December. What is your view on this figure? I mean, was this expected, seeing that it is the month of December anyways? What's your view on these figures? Let's start with that.
Well, I'm not surprised about it. I thought it would hit 30. I said it in some forum that I was in, that I think inflation will hit 30 because of the festivity period. Not only that, because of the exchange rate volatility. Some people was thinking that the rate would go down because government at that time said they would be attracting some funds, about $13 billion. So we thought that would stable the exchange rate and that would bring down rate. Current Nigerian inflationary pressure is fueled mostly from exchange rate volatility, because most of the household items, most of the things that we use in this country are imported into this country. So definitely, most of these companies are not able to assess effects in the official window. They normally go through the parallel market. And so we've seen inflation come that high. Then we must not forget about microeconomic issues that have to do with stability. Then we have the production-induced economic inflationary pressures also, because of cost of production has gone up. Then we'll have the demand and supply side of it, because demand for some of these product also has gone up. So inflation is being fueled by that issues. And unfortunately, the Monetary Policy Committee are still doing the same thing they used to do for the past months. Even when we thought the new government would come in, governor of CBN will come in and try to tick it, we've just seen rake hide in what I've called a copy and paste approach. And also the physical side seems not to be ready to do anything yet. Or you could say that most of their policy have not hit the ground running, especially when you look at this current inflationary pressure is fueled by food
you
price.
Said something that's
remember that
you
the
said
president
that most of these inflationary pressures we're experiencing just might be imported. What exactly do you mean by imported inflation?
No, what I mean is that most of the goods that we use here are imported. So what we see there is that because these goods are imported, exchange rate is volatile, so the cost of these goods keeps going up by the day. So until we address those issues, we'll continue to have inflationary pressure. That's what I mean.
Okay, you touched on activities or activities that we have seen so far from the fiscal and monetary sides of government to nip these inflationary pressures in the bud. And we have heard from the current administration of the CBN, where he has talked about, his direction towards easing inflation. How far so far? Do you see any changes so far? And if so, what exactly are you observing?
I think I've not seen any changes yet. But again, you could say it's early days. I normally say, how did we get to 24 years high? Or you say 24 years high. It started 1 month, 2 months. So we don't expect to address a 24 months increment within the 1 month or 2 months that the CBN governor has been there. So I still expect that the inflation will definitely go down in the second quarter of the year. And I think the CBN governors know what is fueling inflation, and that is why he's trying to address it, and that has to do with the FX. And so they are trying to attract liquidity. Thank God we've gotten the loan from Exim Bank, $2.2 billion. So we hope that will stabilize the exchange rate. We saw that play out in the foreign exchange autonomous market yesterday, where the naira gained to the dollar was about 51 point something percent, because now it seems that that could be a game changer. So if we are able to address this FX role, which the CBN is trying to do, then would have bring down inflation. But in the side of the government, they have to come up with policies that will help the agricultural sector, either through direct intervention through the commercial banks, or set up a special vehicle to drive the agricultural sector in seeing what are the needs of the farmer. How can we help them get these needs? That also will drive down prices of goods and services.
But talking on a global scale, we have seen inflation ease in major economies across the world. But it looks as though Nigeria's case is different, as though Nigeria just might be the outlier. What's your view on that?
I think I totally agree with you, because that's why I said we should stop the copy and paste approach. Because what we have been doing thus far is U.S. U.S. foreign Federal Reserve raise hike, we raise hike, but we didn't look at our own peculiarity issues. Our issues has to do with FX. Our issue has to do with production. Our issue has to also do with microeconomic issues. So until we deal with those issues, inflation will continue to be a monster to this economy. So they need to deal with it. And I say the core issue they need to deal with is this exchange rate. Let it be stable. Even if you are going to get it through the parallel market or get into the official market, then you know that this is the cost of this good. But today you get it at the official this rate, today you get it at the parallel this rate. So you definitely put your cost to the consumer. So that's what is happening. Because if you talk about, oh, some of the things we eat are not imported, but what of the machines that are used to produce these things? Do we have the ability to manufacture them yet? No. So definitely, that's why I keep saying that we should not copy the copy and paste method. What they do, we do it. What they do, we should look at our own economy and look at what is causing inflation in our economy. One factor that is driving inflation in our economy as it stands now is exchange rate volatility, because we import a lot of what we eat. So address that, and then begin to look at how can you bring down costs for farmers? How can farmers access cheap funds so that they will begin to produce some of these items and produce it in a quality, in a good quality? Because sometimes you look at the rice that you produce in Nigeria and the rice that is produced in abroad, you see that the foreign rice, the difference in price maybe maybe 2,000 or 3,000, and yet you think there's more value in the foreign rice comparable to the Nigerian rice. So let's make it in such a way that we create value with the Nigerian rice, and it's cheaper for us to get the Nigerian rice than getting the foreign rice.
Let's go down memory lane a little bit. Two events that we witnessed in the Nigerian economy in the year 2023. One was the removal of fuel subsidy, and the second, of course, was the unification of exchange rates, which we saw where the pegs had been removed. However, that just may not seem to have gone as planned. What actions, can government take at this point to, do I say, redeem the FX market? I say this because there has been action so far to unify the rates, but that has not been the case. So from your point of view, what would your advice be for fiscal and the monetary sides of government, especially to unify the rates?
Okay, now for the physical side, you need to attract investors, foreign direct investors or foreign portfolio investors. Then you need to create that climate. You need to come up with policy. Either you begin to look at tax holidays for companies that will come to provide jobs here for Nigeria. That you begin to look at that, then they are bringing in their resources, and you begin to say, okay, you can have tax holiday for 1 year, for 3 years, for 5 years. That will bring them in. Then that means you're having foreign direct investors or portfolio investors. How can you make the two-way exchange system whereby they can come in here with their money, they buy their stocks, and they are going out, they will be able to sell and go out of the country. So you need to do that. If you do that, then you attract. That is for the physical side. For the monitoring side, you need to attract effects into the economy. And there are 4 ways we attract effects into our economy. We attract effects into our economy sometimes also through foreign direct investment, like I said, portfolio investors, like I said, Nigerian diaspora, and sales of our crude oil. So production in crude oil will need to go up. We didn't see that happen in December. hopefully when the next data come, we would have seen an improvement in that. Nigerian diaspora, some of them are just getting back to work. Because of the variance in the exchange rate, they rather use the black market than use the official market. So you need to come up with incentives. And then of recent, banks are coming up with policy that if you transfer up to $10,000, you have to pay a fee to the bank. And so that also will not encourage them to bring in more fee through the banking sector. So we need to look at that space. And then again, portfolio investors, you need to make sure that you come up with policy which the floating of the naira has helped in that sense. That you see that the foreign investors, and I mean, you could see that happening in the equity market with the price appreciation you are seeing there. Foreign investors are not coming because the rates are not stable yet. So we need to have that stable exchange rate. Then we attract those funds from foreign investors. So for me, if we do these things, then we'll definitely be fine in the long run. But in the short term, we need to continue to do what we are doing because, like I said, we're not here overnight and we cannot get out of this place overnight. We must be intentional in our economic policy. We must look at homegrown policy to grow our economy and over attracting foreign direct investors.
Okay, some international bodies and global bodies such as the World Bank, the EIU, as well as the IMF, are optimistic that sometime next year, or sometime this year, I beg your pardon, there will be some, stability across the Nigeria's macroeconomic space. Do you share that sentiment? I know I saw the report released by the World Bank last week on the global projection for 2024, talking about inflation will be eased sometime this year because the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy would have doused at some point this year. But do you share their sentiment?
I do. I sincerely do share their sentiments. I've said it that by the second quarter of this year, we'll see inflation ease a little. And this will be driven because I expect exchange rate volatility to have been addressed at that time. And also a lot of policy, like you pointed out, the removal of fuel subsidy, we could also go by that fuel might be cheaper again, even if it is in the 1 or 2 naira because of the coming of stream of Dangote refinery and also the NNPC refinery in Port Harcourt. So this also will not just come in the area of domestic fuel alone, but it also reduce the pressure whereby marketers have to export crude oil, refined petroleum products. They have to source for FX. That will definitely stop. And that means that what NNPC used to gain in foreign exchange, then it will lose it in refined petroleum products also will stop. So that will boost our reserve, that will create stability, and I agree that will bring down inflation. I totally agree with them. If we do that, we'll definitely bring down inflation this year.
Okay, just before we go, there has been a mass exodus of some multinational companies within the Nigerian space, speaking of Sanofi, GlaxoSmithKline, and the likes. And we are seeing that play out in the data, as data does not lie, like you know. According to the core inflation report, we're seeing there that the surges were witnessed within the pharmaceutical industry as well. What would you like to say regarding that and this mass exodus of companies away from Nigeria?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's both good and bad because the bad one is the bad. Let me start. The bad is that is giving the international community different perception on you, especially now that the president is traveling to is the marketing officer saying investors you can come and do business in Nigeria. So that is not helping when you see big multinational like this begin to lead the country. So they need to do something about. Secondly, again, the positive is that also will create market for the indigenous companies, like you're talking about the pharmaceutical companies. Also, when you talk about the consumer goods company, let me look for the pharmaceuticals company. It has not been easy to get a replacement because of the cost of production, setting up, and so most of drugs are now very expensive because they have to export them into the country, and that way the exchange rate also come to play. But for maybe consumer goods. If you look at a company like PZ left Nigeria because he felt the competition is becoming local competition, becoming more people are patronizing more of local cream, local foods and others. So it could be positive in the fact that they are moving out of great opportunity for your own. But now the challenge is because of the cost of production, these people have to provide power for themselves. The road network is bad. Some of them have to hire private security. This is adding to the cost of production. And by the time you bring the foreign goods outside to compete with the local good, the price variable is not as wide for one to consider to buy the local good and leave the foreign good. So government really need to look at that, how they can have incentive for local investment and begin to help them grow. By and by, still open your to local players.
Indeed, we hope that the government is listening, or those at the helm of affairs are listening. And like you said, the right incentives are put in place for local manufacturers. I have been speaking with Muktar Mohammed, who is a financial analyst, and he has given us very insightful, his insightful view to the issue of inflation and, of course, the data released by the National Bureau of Statistics on inflation figures for the month of December. Thank you for joining us on Business Daily.
Thank you for having me. Do have a pleasant day. Thank you.
And this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Business Daily. And we will be back again with you tomorrow, same time. So do well to join us again tomorrow for tomorrow's edition of the program. Join the conversation on social media. Drop your comments and let's hear what it is that you have to say on inflation and inflationary figures across Nigeria and, of course, across the African region and global economy as well. My name is Chiamaka Enendu. Thank you for watching and bye for now.